This mother unsuspectingly posed for a photo with her 4 daughters. The photographer spent hours taking the most beautiful pictures, but as the photographer was editing the photos, she took a closer look and saw something. She showed this mom, and she couldn't believe it. It might have been a 1 in a million chance, but it happened and it changed her life forever. Mother poses with quadruplets, and when the photographer zooms in, she gets the scare of her life. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. The shocked photographer said afterward, Emily, 32, has been photographing since she was young, but had never experienced this before. She was approached a couple days before the shoot by a mother who wanted professional photos of herself and her 4 daughters. Unsuspectingly, Emily agreed, set an appointment to meet up. I do photo shoots a couple times a week. Emily told a reporter I thought it would be nothing special, but she was mistaken for the photo she took of Cassie, and her 4 daughters changed the life of that young mother as well as her own life. Cassie could not have known this small detail, but what happened next was completely bizarre. Cassie, the mother of the quadruplets, had always dreamed of having a big family. She and her husband, Jack, had tried for years to have children, but it seemed as though it just wasn't in the cards for them. They had almost given up hope when they found out that Cassie was pregnant. The excitement was almost too much to bear. But then they received some even more shocking news. They were expecting not just 1, but 4 babies. Can you even imagine getting such news out of the blue? That fact alone would turn your life around in a blink of an eye. But what the photographer later on in this story discovered is maybe even more controversial. Cassie was thrilled beyond words, but also terrified. Cassie and Jack wondered how on earth would they be able to care for 4 infants at once. But with the help of family, friends, and an army of doctors, they managed to make it through those first few difficult months. Now, almost 8 years later, Cassie couldn't imagine her life without her 4 beautiful daughters. They were her world, her sun, her moon, and her stars. The little girls were the love of her life, and she wanted to experience everything with them. And with a lot of new experiences also come a lot of pictures. Cassie wanted to document every part of her beautiful daughters' lives. She had books full of pictures. The closet in their spare bedroom was almost ready to burst from the sheer amount of pictures it contained. This addiction was also clearly seen on the walls of their living space, and there was hardly any space left for new family memorabilia. The wall was a creamy white, but you really had to search for that color under the vast collection of family pictures that hung on the wall. There was no space left for anything else because the wall was completely filled. Everywhere was filled except for one little spot near the back of the house. She was determined to fill that space as well, but this new picture was one she was not going to take herself. It was almost their 8th birthday, and Cassie wanted to do something special, so arrangements were made. She wanted nothing more than to capture that love in a beautiful family photo shoot. She spent days planning the perfect outfits, scouting locations, and coordinating schedules with the photographer she had hired, a talented young woman named Emily. Emily had come highly recommended by a friend, and Cassie had been impressed by her portfolio and her friendly, down-to-earth demeanor. Cassie said that it felt like talking to family. Those words would get a whole new meaning in a short while. Emily had always been passionate about photography. Ever since she was a little girl, she had loved capturing moments with her camera. As she grew older, her passion for photography grew too. He spent hours learning about lighting, composition, and different techniques that she could use to make her photographs stand out. Therefore, it was to nobody's surprise that this hobby quickly turned into her job. One day, Emily received an email from a woman named Cassie asking if she could do a photo shoot of her and her quadruplets. Emily usually did single-person portraits, and they were mostly taken at her indoor studio, but Cassie really wanted to take the pictures outside. It was a fun challenge for Emily, and it also helped that Cassie came across as a lovely person. She had always wanted to do a photo shoot of a large family, and this was an opportunity that she couldn't miss out on. Emily started preparing for the photo shoot right away. She spent hours researching different poses that would work well for a family with 4 identical children. She also made sure to pack all of her equipment, which was a lot. You know, she gathered her camera like in reflectors, and she even bought a brand new lens with ultra zoom just for this moment. Emily really wanted to make sure that she was prepared for any situation, and then it was time for the shoot. Emily packed up her professional equipment that day, stepped in her car, and headed to the location for the shoot. What she didn't know at the time, however, was that this shoot would lead to a very special discovery. When Emily arrived, packed and ready at the location of the shoot, the mother and her 4 daughters were already waiting for her. The girls ran happily across the lawn while their mother sat quietly on a blanket waiting for the shoot to begin. When she saw Emily, she immediately stood up, and the two greeted each other warmly before Emily was given a small tour. Cassie showed her around the house, pointing out different areas in the backyard that would be good for photos, but in the end, they chose a field just behind their property. The grass was a vibrant green, and the sunlight hit the spot just perfectly. This is the perfect place, Emily explained, and Cassie and her family agreed it would be perfect. And then the infamous photo shoot could begin. Emily set up her equipment in the field and began taking some test shots to make sure that the lighting was just right. Cassie brought her daughters into the frame, and Emily couldn't believe how adorable they were. They were all dressed in beautiful outfits and were giggling and cooing as Cassie placed them in the right position for Emily's camera. Emily first took all of the girls' photos separately and made some beautiful shots. Then they were all put together, and those came out perfect as well. And lastly, she took a few more fun group photos before heading back home. This time, it would be just Cassie and her daughters.
Yeah.
A request that Cassie happily agreed to as she positioned herself in front of the camera. In the end, Emily was exhausted but happy. She had taken hundreds of photographs and knew that she had captured some amazing moments. He packed up her equipment and promised to send Sarah the photographs as soon as she had edited them. The photos still needed editing before she could deliver them, but you will get them soon. I promise, Emily said, determined to finish the job as soon as possible. Emily flipped open her laptop, uploaded the photos, and got right to work. Not much needed to be done to the photos, as she had a very solid foundation to work from. The brightness of some pictures needed to be increased and others needed to be decreased, but when she got to the pictures of the mother, she suddenly noticed something strange. When she had first seen the woman, Emily had immediately gotten a strange gut feeling and felt as if she had seen her before. The woman had something familiar to her. Feel like you looked at the pictures one by one, but couldn't quite put her finger on the issue. Why did this woman seem so familiar to her? She zoomed in on the woman's face and then suddenly, she saw it. This could not be. If this really was true, someone would have told me a long time ago, Emily said out loud. In the picture, you could see Cassie happily smiling with her 4 daughters. To any other person, this would seem like a perfectly normal picture, a mother just happy with her children. But to Emily, this picture showed her something that made the hairs on the back of her neck stand up, because her new zoom lens captured a small detail that would change her life forever. She had already noticed that Cassie and also one of her daughters had heterochromia, a mutation that gives you 2 different colored eyes. Funny, she thought, because Emily had the exact same mutation and so did her father. But what the lens also captured was sitting right on the side of Cassie's neck. And when she looked at the daughter, there it was again. It was a little heart-shaped birthmark. That was very familiar to Emily. A mark that she herself had carried all her life. Her father told her once that it was the mark of her family, and that for some strange reason, a lot of people in his bloodline had that same mark. But why did this woman she had never seen before have this mark? Is this a coincidence, or was there more to this? She decided to visit her father, but what he told her turned her world upside down. Emily's father had been in a nursing home for some time because he was frail and could no longer take care of himself. Emily knew that she had to ask the right questions because his answers could be a bit cryptic. Emily drove to the nursing home, her mind racing with questions. She parked her car and walked through the doors, feeling nervous. She made her way down the hallway to her father's room, feeling like she was about to uncover a secret that had been hidden from her all her life. He was staring out of the window, but when he saw Emily, his face lit up. "Hi, Dad, how are you feeling today?" Because she asked, taking a seat next to his bed. And honey, he called out enthusiastically, "How nice of you to have come." But when he saw Emily's serious face, he knew she hadn't come just for fun. Emily showed her father the pictures of the woman and looked at her father sternly. "Who is this, Dad?" For a moment, her father seemed to be caught off guard. Her father took a deep breath, looking at the pictures intently. Here come the cryptic answers, Emily thought. But what he was about to say would be the most straight-to-the-point thing he had said in years. He looked up from the pictures, and Emily saw a sad look appear on her father's face. "I know this woman, Emily, and before I tell you who this is, I want to say that I'm sorry for everything." Emily didn't understand what he was sorry for, but the answer her father gave her explained it all. "That's your sister." Emily looked at him with squinted eyes. She didn't know if she believed her father's words. After all, his mind was a bit scrambled sometimes. She told him that she didn't believe him and even got a little bit angry because of her disbelief. But when she asked him what her name was, He gave the name of the woman who requested the photo shoot. Her name is Cassie, and she is really your sister, he said. Emily was stunned. How could her father have kept this from her all this time? Her father had indeed kept the existence of Cassie locked away her entire life, but now it was time to come clean and tell the whole story. He ordered the nervously pacing Emily to sit down again and promised to explain everything to her. Yeah, that's when he told her about it. Fair years ago, when Emily's mother was pregnant with her at the time, things had not been going well between her parents for some time at that point. He had turned to a female colleague for support, and this had ended in an affair. Her father had been feeling lost and disconnected in his marriage, and he made the mistake of seeking comfort in another woman's arms. The relationship did not last long, but had big consequences. After the two broke things off, he found out that she was pregnant with his child. He always wanted a big family, but not like this, of course. He had chosen to stay loyal to his original family, but now he had a second family that he could not simply ignore. However, he begged her to keep this hidden from his wife. The woman had respected his wishes and left his family alone. She only sent him occasional updates about his other daughter, Cassie. When her father told his story, Emily looked at him intently. Was he telling the truth, or was this a concoction of an old, forgetful man? To find out about this, she contacted the woman from the photo shoot, Cassie, again. She told her the whole story and asked her if she would be willing to take a DNA test. Cassie was just as confused by this news as Emily, but she decided to agree anyway. Several weeks later, the DNA results came back, and they confirmed what her father had told her. Cassie was indeed her half-sister. Emily was overwhelmed with a mixture of emotions. He felt happy to have found her long-lost sibling, but also angry and hurt that her father had kept this from her for so long. After some time to process her feelings, Emily finally decided to reach out to Cassie. They arranged to meet in person, and when they finally did, it was like they had known each other their whole lives. They talked for hours, sharing stories and laughing about their similarities. They discovered that they both shared a love of photography and had even taken some of the same courses in college. They liked the same music and movies, and they even had the same quirky sense of humor. They felt like they had been missing out on so much by not knowing each other sooner. From that day on, Emily and Cassie became inseparable. They talked on the phone every day and planned regular visits. They introduced their families to each other, and the two sets of sisters quickly became the best of friends. Emily had never believed in fate, but this experience made her rethink everything. She realized that sometimes things happen for a reason. If it wasn't for that one photo shoot, she would have never discovered her long-lost sister and her 4 amazing nieces. As for Cassie, she felt like she had finally found a missing piece of herself. She had always felt incomplete for some reason. Maybe that's why she made all those pictures of her daughters, so that she wouldn't miss a thing. But now she was finally complete.